The physical exploration of the Moon began when Lunar 2, a space probe launched by the Soviet Union, made a deliberate impact on the surface of the Moon on September 14, 1959. Prior to that, the only available means of lunar exploration had been observations from Earth. The invention of the optical telescope brought about the first leap in the quality of lunar observations. Galileo Galilei is generally credited as the first person to use a telescope for astronomical purposes. Having made his own telescope in 1609, the mountains and craters on the lunar surface were among his first observations using it. Human exploration of the Moon since Lunar 2 has consisted of both crewed and uncrewed missions. NASA's Apollo program has been the only program to successfully land humans on the Moon, which it did 6 times on the near side in the 20th century. The first human landing took place in 1969, when the Apollo 11 astronauts Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong touched down on the lunar surface, leaving scientific instruments upon the mission's completion and returning lunar samples to Earth. All missions had taken place on the lunar near side until the first soft landing on the far side of the Moon was made by the CNSA robotic spacecraft Chang'e in early 2019, which successfully deployed the Yutu-2 robotic lunar rover. On 25 June 2024, China's Chang'e conducted the first lunar sample return from the far side of the Moon. The current goals of lunar exploration across all major space agencies now primarily focus on the continued survey of the lunar surface through various lunar missions in preparation for the eventual establishment of non-temporary human outposts. In 1990, Japan's JAXA visited the Moon with the Titan spacecraft, becoming the third country to place an object in orbit around the Moon. The spacecraft released the Hagoromo probe into lunar orbit, but the transmitter failed, thereby preventing further scientific use of the spacecraft. In September 2007, Japan launched the Selene spacecraft, with the objectives to obtain scientific data of the lunar origin and evolution and to develop the technology for the future lunar exploration, according to the JAXA official website. In 2023, Smart Lander for Investigating Moon, SLIM, is a lunar lander mission of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. By 2017, the lander was planned to be launched in 2021, but this was delayed until 2023 due to delays in SLIM's rideshare mission, X-ray Imaging and Spectroscopy Mission, XRISM. It was successfully launched on 6 September 2023 at 23:42 UTC, 7 September, 8:42 Japan Standard Time. On the 3rd October 2023, the lander executed its trans-lunar injection burn. It entered orbit around the Moon on 25th of December 2023 and landed on 19th of January 2024 at 15:20 UTC. As a result, Japan became the 5th country to soft land on the surface of the Moon. Since then, it has survived 4 lunar days and 3 lunar nights. The European Space Agency launched a small, low-cost lunar orbital probe called SMART-1 on September 27, 2003. SMART-1's primary goal was to take 3-dimensional X-ray and infrared imagery of the lunar surface. SMART-1 entered lunar orbit on November 15, 2004, and continued to make observations until September 3, 2006, when it was intentionally crashed into the lunar surface in order to study the impact plume. China has begun the Chinese Lunar Exploration Program for exploring the Moon and is investigating the prospect of lunar mining, specifically looking for the isotope helium-3 for use as an energy source on Earth. China launched the Chang'e-1 robotic lunar orbiter on October 24, 2007. Originally planned for a 1-year mission, the Chang'e-1 mission was very successful and ended up being extended for another 4 months. On March 1, 2009, Chang'e-1 was intentionally impacted on the lunar surface, completing the 16-month mission. On October 1, 2010, China launched the Chang'e-2 lunar orbiter. China landed the rover Yutu and the Chang'e-3 lander on the Moon on December 14, 2013, becoming the 3rd country to have done so. Chang'e 3 is the first spacecraft to soft land on the lunar surface since Lunar 24 in 1976. Since the Chang'e 3 mission was a success, the backup lander Chang'e 4 was repurposed for the new mission goals. China launched on 7th of December 2018 the Chang'e 4 mission to the lunar far side. On January 3, 2019, Chang'e 4 landed on the far side of the moon. So, Chang'e 4 deployed the Yutu-2 moon rover, which subsequently became the current record distance holder for lunar surface travel. Among other discoveries, Yutu-2 found that the dust at some locations of the far side of the moon is up to 12 meters deep. United States. The Ballistic Missile Defense Organization and NASA launched the Clementine mission in 1994 and the Lunar Prospector in 1998. NASA launched the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter on June 18, 2009, which has collected imagery of the moon's surface. It also carried the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, LCROSS, which investigated the possible existence of water in the crater Cabeus. Grail is another mission, launched in 2011. Following the decades-long lull in lunar exploration in the aftermath of the Cold War, the main push of US lunar exploration goals has coalesced under the Artemis program, formulated in 2017. Russia. On 10 August 2023, Russia launched the Lunar 25 mission, its first mission to the moon since 1976. On 20 August, it crashed into the moon after a guidance error that resulted in an anomalous orbit-lowering maneuver. South Korea. South Korea launched the lunar orbiter Danuri on 4th of August 2022, and it arrived at the moon on the 16th December 2022. This is the first phase of South Korea's lunar exploration program, with plans to launch another lunar lander and probe. Artemis 3, 2026, is planned to be the first crewed test flight of SLS and the Orion spacecraft. The 4 crew members will perform extensive testing in Earth orbit, and Orion will then be boosted into a free return trajectory around the moon, which will return Orion to Earth for re-entry and splashdown. Launch is scheduled for no later than April 2026. Artemis 3, 2027, is planned to be the first American crewed lunar landing since Apollo 17 in December 1972. The mission depends on a support mission to place a Starship Human Landing System, HLS, in a near rectilinear halo orbit, NRHO, of the moon prior to the launch of SLS Orion. After Starship HLS reaches NRHO, SLS Orion will send the Orion spacecraft with a crew of 4 to dock with HLS. 2 astronauts will transfer to HLS, which will descend to the lunar surface and spend about 6.5 days on the surface. The astronauts will perform at least 2 extravehicular activities, EVAs, on the surface before the HLS ascends to return them to a rendezvous with Orion. Orion will return the 4 astronauts to Earth. Launch is scheduled for no earlier than mid-2027. Artemis 6 represents another giant leap in our return to the moon, pushing the boundaries of human exploration. As we look ahead, NASA's vision stretches beyond 2035 with more Artemis missions on the horizon, but those future journeys, we'll save them for the next video. Until then, keep dreaming big and keep looking up.